Hello and welcome to this video series about emotions at work. I'm Stephanie Mitrano-Meda from Innovation Copilots, and this is the second video I would like to share about the purpose of emotion. To help you decode the hidden or misunderstood messages your emotions are trying to convey. And this is the next step to be more empowered by your emotions rather than overwhelmed by them. Remember Jenny from the first video? In this video, she's back to explore emotions with us, and she wants to uncover some of the basic messages her emotions are trying to convey. Because we do have emotions, we don't understand necessarily why. And, are they useful? What can they bring us? Our problem is that understanding the mechanics of emotions that we've seen in video 1 is not enough. Because we are not bilingual in chemical talk. We feel the rush of adrenaline, for example, but we cannot always pinpoint what it means or why it's there. And the most powerful and insightful tool that I've been sharing with my participants usually is this universal emotion translator. It is something that gives you an idea, a general idea, of what your emotion is trying to convey, what message it's trying to share with you. And remember from the first video that in this mechanics of emotion process, the point when the emotion is being triggered is when you have an evaluation about the stimulus. So let's say the source of your emotion or is actually in your value system. So it is important to understand what is the judgment or the evaluation you have in order to see what emotion it triggers, and depending on what emotion it triggers, what the message or what action is needed or what is important for you to do. So let's start with one of the 6 basic. This is the fastest one. You might have recognized it. It's surprise. Now, surprise comes when you have an evaluation of novelty, whether it's a surprise gift or an unexpected result at work, or something like an ostrich in a context that's really not where you expect it to be. And surprise creates physiologically a flash of alertness. All your senses become very active, like your head might turn very fast to direct your eyes towards the source of novelty maybe that you've heard with your ears. That state of alertness allows you to act, and the message is trying to tell you, and that's why it's giving you this change in physiology with your senses being more alert. It's trying to tell you to pay attention. Basically, there is something new in your environment, something that you don't know, something maybe that you didn't expect. Now, your emotion is giving you the state that you need, the senses alertness that you need to be able to gain more data and pay attention in order to decide what to do next with that new piece of information. So that's the message surprise is giving you. Let's move on to the next one. Oh, maybe this one you have recognized too. Maybe from the facial expression. Yes, this is fear. Now, fear is triggered when your brain evaluates the situation as dangerous. Now, whether it is a real and immediate danger to your life, or it is an imagined or anticipated danger, it is the same chemistry that's being released in your body. This is why dreams, films, or other people's stories, even though might not be real for you as a danger, they still trigger anxiety or a certain level of fear, maybe horror if you're watching a horror movie. And you will feel altered in your physical state to be able to do the fight, flight, or freeze response to the said danger. Indeed, your physiology, you're getting a boost of adrenaline, and this is kind of creating an acceleration of everything in your body. So you can move faster, you feel temporarily stronger, you have the ability to quickly decide on a course of action, or you can even mobilize all of your body muscles to freeze. Now, this is a very efficient and beautiful way to deal with a dangerous situation because the message here is very simple: get to safety fast. Huh? You have a danger, so you need to find safety. Now, we can easily understand this in a survival context, being in the jungle, facing a predator, but how does it relate to our work life? Um, Remember that whether the danger is real and immediate or imagined or anticipated, it is the same chemistry. So, if following a criticism of your boss, you imagine that there is a potential danger to your career, or if with the announcement of a company restructuring, you anticipate some negative impacts on your current position at work, the chemistry of fear will be released as if it was a snake about to bite you. The problem is that we feel that fear, but we do not pay enough attention to the message. So instead of um, we suffer the challenging effects of that excess underused adrenaline, and it affects our well-being and potentially affects our performance too. But don't worry, in the next video we will see how to handle this too. Now, let's move on to the third emotion I wanted to share with you. Now, you might recognize this one too. Of course, this is anger. Now, anger, there are two main triggers for anger. One is value-based, like an evaluation of injustice or unfairness. The other one is more ego-based. It's the perception or evaluation of an obstacle to your desires. The ego-based anger is easily seen in children with tantrums when they will they want to get something, and the there is an obstacle on the way, like a no from a mum, a teacher, or even just a physical obstacle like the stairs, stopping a toddler from getting where he wants to get. As adults, we do not show our ego-based anger as much. We have learned to disguise it into a value-based anger. This is not fair. I deserved that promotion. Now, I'm not debating whether or not you deserved it. I'm just asking whether you are angry because there is an obstacle to your wishes, like I want the promotion and I'm met by a no. That could be an ego-based anger. Or there's an actual systemic recognition or discrimination problem in your organization, which here would be more like this is based on a problem of justice. So it is a value-based anger. Once anger is triggered, what happens physiologically? Well, actually, you get hot. There's a surge of upward energy and strength in your upper body. Your voice might get louder. It feels like a volcano is about to explode. For some people, we might feel the volcano but are trying to contain it, which might result in some implosion or delayed explosions. These can be as dangerous as an immediate explosion, actually. So what's the message, or what's the point of having this surge of energy, this violence, this power? Well, whether you understand that or not just yet, but the key word here is change. Anger is giving you strength, energy, motivation, and perseverance to act and change the situation, to restore justice, so that the world can return to or become what it should be. Well, according to your value system, anyway. It took loads of angry people to change the society and get rid of slavery, for example. It didn't happen just because it seems like a nice idea. It happened because many angry people decided this was unacceptable and put their energies together to push back and to create change. Of course, anger can be so powerful that if it's not properly channeled, it might result into violence, whether it's verbal or physical. And this is why for so many years I could not accept anger into my life. For me, anger equaled violence, and since non-violence was part of my value system, anger was unacceptable in others, but mostly in myself. I denied it so much that even deluded myself into thinking that I did not feel anger at all. I was even telling myself I do not do anger, not like these less evolved people. Now, do you see the arrogance or even the delusion? Of course, like everyone else, I did feel the world was unfair and some situations were obstacles to my desire. I am human after all. But it is when I discovered that the purpose of anger was change that it became acceptable and I could start to reconcile with my anger and listen to it more. Now, we will see in further videos that listening to your anger doesn't mean you're acting with anger in a violent way. And I think it's important, even at this stage, to make the decision. Listening to yourself, listening to what you're angry about, is key to empowerment. It doesn't mean you have to act angry. But let's move to the next emotion. Okay, now this blue Jenny here, you've recognized, yes, she's expressing sadness. Now, sadness at work is a tricky one too. Sadness comes from the evaluation of loss, weakness, vulnerability. It is about feeling smaller, lacking something, having lost part of yourself physically, physiologically, spiritually. Whether it's you've lost someone, you've lost a thing, you've lost a limb, you've lost your self-esteem, your self-respect, your faith, hope, or anything else. It is a time of vulnerability. At work, we are all supposed to be strong and perform to the best of our ability. So sadness isn't unacceptable there, especially if we look at the physiology of sadness, which is lack of energy, lack of motivation, slow moving, tired looking, as if we were lifeless. Um, so what's the purpose of such a state? Remember, we're trying to see why these emotions are there. Well, the purpose of sadness is actually to take you out of action and to send clear messages to your support community that you are weak, that you need support, and you need to rebuild yourself. Unfortunately, we have a tendency to hide our expression of sadness, to show only our superwoman or superman mask, especially at work. This means we do not ask for help, and we do not give signals to our community that we need it. The risk being that we go into a downward spiral of feeling smaller and smaller, more and more at loss, and eventually go into depression. Our society, work environments, and company cultures have been banishing sadness and its expression. We have to be super happy all the time. Nonsense. Sadness has its place in our life. It is a time for retreat and restore, for acknowledging our loss and taking stock, a time to rebuild for renewal. So I hope this will maybe make you feel more comfortable with your sadness. Anyway, let's move on to the next one as another couple to do. Oh, this one, yeah. So Jenny here is feeling disgust. Yeah. Disgust is a bit taboo as an emotion at work. It is triggered when you evaluate the situation as toxic. Something is dirty, unhealthy for you. Um, it indeed alerts you via usually a bad smell or something that will, give you a sign that the food or the product that you are going near to is unhealthy for you. At work, we can evaluate the whole person or a whole corporate culture as toxic. Physiologically, you getting a sense that your senses want to shut down. It's like your nose, your eyes, your mouth want to, shut down, be closed so that you stop the intake of whatever you find is toxic. Even your stomach might want to reject whatever's been ingested. And your neck and your whole body might move away from the source of toxicity. The problem is that with disgust, the message is pretty clear and pretty powerful that you need to distance yourself from the toxic thing. Now, what happens when you think or you evaluate your boss, a client, or a colleague to be toxic. And I've heard that a lot recently in companies. And you cannot distance yourself from them, you have to work with them. Then what happens is that you are in an internal conflict. Your body is making you sick at the mere sight of the person. And the key here to really understand disgust and use it is to get more self-aware about what is it more specifically, more subtly. What is that source of toxicity? Because sometimes we confuse the source of toxicity, which might be one behavior, and we confuse it with the whole person. So instead of saying this behavior is toxic or is not healthy in this environment, you say this person is toxic. So of course you want to distance from the whole person, and you don't create an opportunity for the person to heal or change that behavior. But anyway, that will be discussed in the tips later on in another video. So first, just think about what is specifically being seen as toxic according to you, and then we'll see how to deal with that. And let's finish with the last emotion, or one of the 6 basic anyway. And this one, yes, okay, at last, the one that we really like, it's joy. Now, joy comes from the evaluation of satisfaction, whether it's something that you're celebrating with your friends, you're eating delicious food, you're getting some recognition, you get good results, you're proud of yourself, you know, there's self-satisfaction, etc., etc. The chemicals that you receive when you are evaluating satisfaction is a sense of lightness, energy, or relaxed, but it's like a whole body experience, a whole well-being in your whole body. It's like your whole body is rejoicing in that well-being. Now, like the other emotions, there is a purpose to joy. And joy is encouraging you, basically, or motivating you to carry on living, carry on doing what you're doing to ensure the survival of the species, of course. And also to share that feeling with others, to reinforce the sense of community with your group. Again, we survive better together than alone. So again, it does have a purpose of survival. But even joy might be more agreeable. It is not always welcomed at work either. I mean, imagine yourself running around the office, singing, dancing, just because you've had a big raise or a promotion. Now, ask yourself, would that be appropriate in your current work culture? So even joy, even the one we like, might not always be in its expression the most appropriate. So just to summarize with this universal emotion translator, here are the key messages that your emotions are trying to convey. So surprise wants you to pay attention, fear wants you to get back to safety, anger wants you to act to change the situation, sadness wants you to get support, disgust, distance yourself from the source of toxicity, and joy to continue what you're doing and share it. Now, please remember that this emotional translator is not a magical tool. It only points a direction for you to dig deeper. Don't be lazy or superficial in understanding yourself and understanding others. I mean, we are so complex, rich, and interesting that it is worth exploring, even if it's challenging. I've also been hearing very often that there are many negative emotions and very few positive ones. Just reframe this in there are emotions that you like and emotions that are more challenging for you. But all of them have a purpose, and all of them are useful if you are able to hear the message and act with or in coherence with your emotion. So I trust that you have found some insights about the purpose of emotion and this universal emotions translator, whether to understand yourself or others. And stay tuned for further videos about emotions at work. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.